and thank you for bringing up the issue of cannabis. When there's so much cash around, it creates a lot of problems. And when I look at crime around facilities that sell cannabis, it's a big issue in our communities, and I hope that you will take some time to look into that. I want to go back to the issue of forfeiture funds. I just want to get clarification that the funds required to operate the TFF, the amount that you gave us, $71 million, is an adequate amount to leave in the fund that we should consider?
I believe it is, but since you've asked me the question twice, what I would say is let me go back and just confirm that with my internal group, because you're obviously have raised some concerns about this, and we will follow up with your staff to make sure that we're 100% comfortable on that and can update you on why we feel that's the case.
I appreciate that, and I apologize. Usually I like to send my questions in advance so that our guests are prepared to answer my concerns.
It would have been helpful if the chairman had sent me the question about the NCAA in advance.
So I want to talk about the Northern Triangle countries, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. Obviously, we have a humanitarian crisis at the border with, hundreds of people coming north. Very difficult situation there, not only with crime, but very, very corrupt governments. It's unfortunate that we have provided very little political support for CSIG, which is, the UN investigative body that is commissioned, that is there to help provide support to the Attorney General, and in Honduras is MOXIE. Last Wednesday, April 3rd, the Department of State provided Congress with a list of corrupt officials from the Northern Triangle countries, which was required by my amendment in fiscal year 19 in DAA. As I've already said publicly, I was very disappointed with that list. I was very disappointed to see many officials that we know are dealing in narcotics and very much involved in narco trafficking were not on that list. So, Mr. Secretary, given the very short list that we have, do you see any reason why those individuals on such a list, which was created by this Department of State, should not be sanctioned under the Magnitsky Act?
In general, let me just comment, I work very closely with Secretary Pompeo and the State Department on many issues and the sanctions. I'm not familiar with this list per se. I will follow up with the Secretary and both to understand the list and review if it's appropriate for sanctions. It does sound like it's something we should look at and take into consideration. As I said, we've used these obviously in many other areas. I'm more familiar with in the case of Mexico and Venezuela of drug trafficking and other issues, but I will follow up on that.
Again, if we want to deal with the issues that we have at our southern border, we can't be negligent and not pay attention to the very corrupt governments in the Northern Triangle. The reason why these people are fleeing is because there's no justice, there's no access to justice, and their governments are stealing funding that should be available to create programs for education. And I hate to continue to devastate other budgets that are critically needed in our communities, like the forfeiture funding, to build the wall when the answer is right in front of us, and that is dealing with the corrupt people. They should not have a visa, and they should not have access to our financial institutions here in the U.S., not when we know, and we're very clear, that they are dealing and they are known narco traffickers.
Well, let me, again, agree with you completely that Treasury and this administration in no way wants to look the other way when we're aware of corruption in foreign governments, and these sanctions work, and we will follow up with your office to make sure that corrupt officials do not have access to our financial system. Thank you.
I appreciate my time is up, and I yield back.